TIL every year, about 30,000 people in the US lose a finger. The two most common causes: doors and power tools. My dad lost part of a finger to a table saw. He was at work when it happened and they had to force him to go to the hospital because he's a crazy, grizzled old mountain man who don't believe in all that doctor book learning shit and just wanted to wrap it up and get back to work. He told everybody on the way to the hospital that the injury was caused by a shark attack. Once he got to the hospital and was asked what happened by the doctor, he told him he nodded off in his sleep. Then he howled at his own joke while the doctor looked at him in alarm. They couldn't reattach the finger. I once nearly lost the tip of my finger in a heavy door. It still hurts if I just lightly squeeze it all these years later. My teacher in 3rd grade told the story of how he lost most of his finger. He and his son were exploring some sort of quarry, and his son was throwing rocks down from the top of a rubble pile. My teacher was standing at the bottom of that mound, and apparently one of the thrown rocks ricocheted and struck him in the hand. He didn't even realize he'd been injured until he looked down and saw his finger dangling by some shredded skin. The little brother of my high school best friend decided he was going to make a pipe bomb, so he stole some of his dad's gunpowder, found a lead pipe, and a couple caps and got to work. While pounding in one of the caps with a hammer, the thing exploded and he lost part of his thumb and finger. This was in the 80s in a small Midwest town. Absolutely no repercussions for anybody. These days I'm guessing kid and parents would have both been in a lot of trouble. The thing I am fearful of, when using my saw, is not the cut. I am fearful of my complete failure to change my blade to a sharp one. I've done it twice in 10 years, crying face. Imagine your fingers running into a dull blade. Shredded? At least a clean slice is repairable. So many times I put wood in and it flies past me like a bullet. Imagine shredded fingers. Imagine looking for them in the sawdust. LMFO. No, LMFO is not a typo. You'll figure it out. I knew a foreman who used to come to the hardware counter I was at back in the day, and missing part of his index finger. I asked, and was expecting some wild story, but he said he was strapping a load to a flatbed once and simply raised his hand to grab the strap and clipped it on the bottom of the truck frame, and it was sharp enough to do the job. Couldn't get to a hospital quickly enough to save it. It was that easy and unexpected. My dad and my paternal grandfather are both missing part of the same finger. My dad's was shut in a heavy metal door and lost the tip down to the top knuckle. My grandfather's was some sort of power tool and down to the bottom knuckle. Both on their left ring finger. I've always joked it's hereditary and it's a matter of time before I lose part of mine. The risk being higher in men aged 55 is interesting, and I wish they gave the context. Older, so less likely to use proper personal protection equipment, gloves, successfully undergo the procedure to reconnect the lost digit, seek immediate medical care and reduce the window of time to reattach, have well-maintained sharp tools. My kid's great-grandma stitched a couple off in an industrial sewing machine. Their grandpa lost one from some power tool. Their grandma on the other side had one chopped off with a butcher knife by her sister because she was snatching something off the cutting board. I tell them to wash themselves because it's genetic. I worked with a woman who lost a finger doing dishes. Her daughter put a glass cup in the sink and it shattered under the weight of other dishes. She told this so nonchalantly, and it gave me the impression that she was very hardened. She went to a neighbor and they drove to the hospital and had it reattached. A couple people I work with are woodworking hobbyists. I'm not, but I do simple projects around the house. So as you can imagine, power tools are a regular topic of discussion. And every time table saws come up, my response is the same: I'd like to have one, but I like having 10 fingers even more. Lost the tip of my left ring finger to a big old wood splitter. Completely obliterated where it cut crushed, so no putting it on ice and reattaching it. Very lucky that was all it took. Silver lining: I can throw out a mean-ass East Side sign with my left hand. Shit is equidistant and everything. One female sergeant US Army had her ring caught in the back of an LMTV some 20-odd years ago and ripped it right off. If I recall correctly, because of that incident in our unit, the SOPs made a serious change to the wearing of rings during any type of operation that includes heavy-wheeled vehicles. I witnessed the aftermath of a policeman attempting to unlodge a rock from the blades of a still-on lawnmower. He lost the first 2 bones of his index finger, the first bone of his middle finger, and the tip of his ring finger from his shooting hand. He had to retire early. My father lost the tip of one finger with a table saw. He forgot everything Norm taught him about shop safety. About a year and a half later he did the same thing and lost a finger and a half. Blamed no one but himself as he didn't respect his tools and tried to save time. I crushed my left index finger in a steel door and it took a couple minutes to get the door open. The tip of my finger from the first knuckle was literally flattened and the pain was horrendous. Luckily it regained its normal shape, but it's now permanently numb. My 3-year-old daughter got her thumb crushed and broken in the hinge of her bedroom door as I was trying to shut it to put her sister to sleep. Luckily she is on the mend and no permanent damage. I will never forgive myself if she had lost her finger. I nearly lost a finger using a power tool on a door. I tried to trim the bottom of the door frame so the flooring would fit under it, using a 714 circular saw. Ended up getting a few stitches. Just nicked the muscle and damaged the nerve to my pinky. Lawnmowers were mentioned in the article, and that was one thing I was told when the Consumer Safety Board, whatever the name is, called me about my accident. I'd say fireworks too, but that seems mostly focused around one day in particular. Thoughtful face. Used to work in a building with heavy steel doors and everyone would prop the back door to smoke. Watched a woman try to put her hand between the door and frame only to deglove 2 of her finger. I dare you to Google degloved finger injury. Random story. I once got a text from an unknown that read in part, "They think they can reattach the finger and thumb, but there is nothing they can do about the tongue." I tried to get a follow-up wherein it was one ZBD done. My stepdad worked at a dog food factory, and he got 3 of his fingers caught in an airlock. The airlock was so powerful, it sucked 3 of his fingers clean off his hand, up to the first knuckle. They found them all the way down the plant. These people have cheapened the phrase "I can't count on one hand" the number of times that. And I'm not going to stand for it. Signed. One of the 150,000 annually who have a lower limb amputation. Not really, still have both legs. I lost a portion of my finger in a work accident, and the only cool thing about it is most people who see it immediately tell you about someone else they know who lost a finger. The most common cause from what I've heard is table saws. I used to work at a meat packing plant just a little over 2 decades ago. I was shocked by the amount of missing fingers people had. Someone lost a finger in another department when I was there. People spent hours looking for it. Almost lost half my finger to a door when I was 4. My dad lost half his middle finger when he was 19, so he rushed my ass to the hospital so it wouldn't happen to me. Never lost it, but I have a scar on that finger to this day. I remember slamming a heavy wood door at an old house once and, while I was at no risk at all of losing a finger then and there, I do recall going, "Whoa, I easily could have just lost a finger." Doors can be no joke. I seen this while scrolling and I'm not wearing my glasses so everything's a little blurry, and I misread finger as tiger for a second and I was like, damn bro, we're losing that many tigers. How is nobody talking about that? Just how do you lose it to a door? I've smashed my fingers in plenty of door and never more than a hurt fingernail. Worst pain was a motorhome main door, closed completely on my finger, but besides needing ice I was fine. LPT, if you ever lose a finger in an ice rink, don't preserve the detached portion with the snow from the ice rink. It is dirty and will infect the detached finger. Learned this from a story last week. My brother worked in a bakery years ago. He saw an extension cord on the floor which was a tripping hazard. He threw it over a machine it caught on his wedding ring. Pulled it and he lost his finger. Had to have my index finger amputated right around the nail bed, separating 2 dogs. They took out the bit of nail. Took a year to fully heal. Nail grew back, but now curves down over 50 of finger. I gotta say, the only time I have gotten hurt when using potentially dangerous tools, I was deliberately using a tool incorrectly in my high school class. Sliced my hand and learned a valuable lesson. Probably damn near lost a pinky working at a grocery store back in the day and getting it caught between the motorized pallet jack handle and the inside of the trailer moving pallets around. Lol, almost entirely cut off the tip of my index finger with a door as a kid, but it was successfully reattached. Thankfully no memories of it happening since I was so young. My buddy is missing the tip of his left index finger. When he was a child, he stuck it in the chain of an exercise bike his mom was riding. That's the weirdest one I got. My grandpa was a logger for 50 years. No incidents. His last week before retiring he slammed his middle finger shut in his cab door and took the tip right off. The 2 most common causes of finger loss in the US are doors and power tools. But if you really want to lose a finger, try using a power tool to open the door. Once power tools have tasted blood, they wait eagerly for the next chance to sup on your flesh. I'm missing a fingertip from a table saw, so dues were paid. My great-grandpa lost a couple to a lawnmower, and his granddaughter my aunt lost one from stretching on a road bike and it got caught in the spokes. Lost mine to a stationary bike at around 2 years old. I don't remember it happening, but sounds like it was a bad time for all involved. I got lucky when I finished school. Lost 3 fingers to a faulty tool. Settled out of court, I'm no one's fool. You probably knew, I nearly lost my thumb a couple years ago. Lacerated the tendon with a wood chisel. It's not as difficult to do as you think. Got a used radial arm saw. Got a safety kit that mentions several times in the instructions to this, and you will lose fingers. Doesn't anybody do it the old-fashioned way by losing a bed and having it chopped off with a cleaver from Quentin Tarantino? Everyone I know who's missing a finger or more lost them to power tools. 2 shop teachers, 2 tradesmen and 1 cousin. There are roughly 340 million Americans, so, approximately 1 in 11,333? I would have expected it to be much higher honestly. So if you live in the US, you have 1 in 4 chance to lose your finger tomorrow. Better chances than the lottery, good luck. No offense, but how do you lose a finger to a door? Like vault doors? I don't see how that's possible, but apparently it is. Most folk will never lose a toe. But then again, some folk will. Like Cletus, the slack-jawed yokel. Oh wait, fingers. When you have a population of 300 million plus, 30,000 is a small number. Still sucks for them, but a tiny percentage. Chopped off tip of my finger in a power tool, but they just sewed it back on it in urgent care. One nurse vomited. My profession has an elevated risk of losing a finger. In my 15 years I've seen it once but heard many horror stories. This is why dads evolved a defense mechanism of farting whenever one of their kids tries to pull their finger off. Honest question, how do so many PPL lose their fingers to doors? Hurting them, sure, but outright severing them?